Hi everyone, Sat Shri Akal, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum. My name is Farheen Khan and you're watching the AZEEZA show. And welcome to season 2. So our very first episode is actually about empowering girls in Ghana. And with me in studio is Anna Edu. Thank you so much for being here, Anna.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And you're the founder of an organization called the Endless Possibilities and Hope Development Foundation.
That's right.
Wonderful. So, you know, what inspired you, Anna, to start this organization?
Well, growing up in Ghana, I grew up a little privileged. Like, I didn't grow up poor. I didn't grow up in a bad neighborhood. I didn't grow up feeling sorry for myself. I had a good upbringing, a lot of love. We're not talking about money. A lot of love and care.
Right.
Right. And my dad was like the director of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation.
Wow, okay.
Like Canadian, like CBC here.
Right.
You know, he was a journalist. He traveled all over the world.
Right.
So he really brought home enlightenment and all that.
Right.
My mother, however, was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
You know, and we lived in a good area, in a good home. And I don't know if we had surplus, but she always brought in those who were underprivileged. You know, from the poorer neighborhoods, people who sold goods on their heads and things like that. She would bring them in and they would almost make our home their home, you know. And I saw a lot of kindness in my mother,
Right.
and I saw a lot of care coming out of her to other people.
Right.
So I thought, when I grow up, I want to do something like that,
Right.
you know. So it sort of instilled in me, you know, goodness and kindness and compassion,
Right.
you know. Then at a young age, I was brought to Canada, you know. So I came to Canada when I was like 18.
Right.
And all of a sudden, life became hard. Because remember, I grew up nice in Ghana.
Right.
But in Canada, I had to figure out how to do everything for myself, away from love, away from care and all of that.
Right.
But what that did to me was it made me start feeling what those people felt. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
all of a sudden that love was gone. All of a sudden that care was gone. All of a sudden life wasn't so easy.
Right.
So I began to feel what those people felt.
I see. Right.
You know, those who lacked a little love, those who lacked a little care,
Right.
those who weren't so taken care of. You know, I mean, when I came to Canada, I didn't come to live with outsiders. I came to live with family members, but I didn't know them.
Right.
You know, they had grown up, and then you know how you go and then you go and live with family. So it was a very lonely time.
Right.
But figuring out how to do life and all that also taught me how it feels to be lonely and sad and poor, and you know. So then I would remember.
And you came by yourself when you were 18.
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't with your family.
No.
Right, but you came to live with other family.
I
that
came
was
to
already
live
here.
with other family
Right.
that were almost like strangers to me.
Got it. Okay.
Because I didn't know them.
Right. Right.
Right. So through all of that, as I was figuring life out,
Sure.
I always had it in me, like I said, watching my mother, that I want to give back to society.
For sure.
For sure. So I was always looking for ways as I was figuring out and going through my own ups and downs and crying and this and that. And also, growing up in Ghana, I saw a lot of women that I wanted to be like. Women
Okay.
who were in business, women who were doctors, women who were lawyers, women who were like had their own power
Right.
and had their own strength and had their own, like they understood who they are. They stood tall.
Right.
And so they were a reminder in my struggles in the back of my mind that I want to be that.
Right.
So in spite of everything that I was going through, I had a vision of what I wanted to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then also, it wasn't too long after I arrived in Canada that Oprah came on the air.
Okay. Okay.
You know? So, and Oprah had the structure of the women that I wanted to be like. She looked exactly like my mothers and my sisters. But here she was, very confident, very bold. And she was doing all these good things.
Right.
So Oprah became a spotlight for me
Right.
of what I could be in spite of my difficulties. And when she talked about the realness of her life, it told me that things were not bad after all, that even her had gone through all these things that she had gone through and was still standing tall.
Right.
So that became another limelight for me, where I used to look that way. And
Right.
so, you know, everybody, I came to believe that every child needs somebody who looks like them to be able to emulate them, to be able to see what their possibilities are,
Right.
and all of that. And so through it all came the birth of Endless Possibilities and Hope Development Organization.
Right.
I'd like to explain a bit about the Endless
Please.
Possibilities.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
So as I said, I came to Canada and I was struggling. But my upbringing in Ghana had told me I could do anything and be whoever I wanted to be.
Right.
My endless possibilities was instilled in me right at a young age.
Right.
Right? And then the hope development aspect. Now I found myself in a place where I was sad, I was feeling very lonely, I was going through some things that I never thought I would go through.
Right.
Life was just dark.
Right.
But my upbringing once again gave me hope. So when I was thinking about the name, I was thinking about both aspects of my life,
Sure.
where the fact of my life having endless possibilities was planted inside of me.
Right.
And then when I remembered these women that I wanted to be like, and then I was seeing Oprah, and I was seeing Maya Angelou, and I was seeing Toni Morrison,
Yes.
I was seeing Jean Augustine, they began to give me hope once again.
Right.
And so I thought, let's put that name, Hope Development, in there. Because for anybody to discover their endless possibilities, they have to have hope.
Absolutely.
Hope is like the key
Right.
for them to reach their endless possibilities.
Absolutely.
So people say to me all the time, the name is long. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just do you. Let me do it. Let me do endless possibilities.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
great.
That's
Wonderful.
what it is. Yeah.
And yeah, you know, so part of the work that you do is in Ghana.
Right.
So can you tell us about that?
Well, in Ghana, so my heart never left Ghana.
Right.
My
Okay.
heart never left Ghana. I always wanted to go back.
Okay.
But here I was. I had been sponsored to come here. The sponsorship had taken so long for me to just get up and go back. This is like a family thing.
Right.
It's like you're bringing shame to the family. And every time I would call and I'll cry, they'll be like, other people have done it. You can do it. Just stay there and do it and all of that. So I didn't exactly have the option
Right. To go
of
back.
going back,
Right.
you know. So I went through so many difficult situations. I went through so many weird situations that now when I look back, I'm like, that was very unnecessary. But I had to press on,
Right.
you know. I didn't have a choice but to press on.
Sure.
And as I went through life ups and downs, losing jobs, going into relationships that were so bad that I didn't even care for, that now when I look back, I still, you know, sometimes it brings me tears, sometimes I shake my head, but it was all coming from a very lonely place and a very needy place. But by the grace of God, I've gone through relationships, I've gone through jobs, I've gone through so many things, and I came to a point where now I had a family, right? But anything I wanted to put my children into was expensive. So then I said, okay, we're just going to have to do things on our own.
Right.
Right. So then in my neighborhood, at the time we lived in Malton,
Okay.
where there were a lot of apartments and there were a lot of, you know, low income families and things like that. So it was
Sure.
as if I could relate to the people around me. We could all relate to each other because we couldn't afford any games.
Right.
So I decided, okay, on weekends, I'm just going to pull the kids together and we're going to do programs and we're going to do nursery rhyme and this person is going to read and that person is going to...
Okay.
So we started doing that in the parks.
Right.
So we'll all come downstairs and you know the parks in the middle of the apartment will be there and we'll all start Then all of a sudden it turned into mothers and all that coming with their children. My child wants to do this today. This
That's great.
And then somebody came up and said, what you're doing is charitable work. So go and apply for charitable status.
That's wonderful.
Of course, I didn't know what that was.
Right.
But that was the birth of endless possibilities. And as I saw things unfold naturally,
Yeah.
my connection to Ghana began.
I see. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll continue the conversation.
Sure.
We'll be back right after this. Hi everyone, welcome back. You're watching the AZEEZA show and I'm here in the studio with Anna, who's talking about empowering girls in Ghana.
Right. So from there, you know, as I applied for the charitable status and I got it, I thought, and then all of a sudden, most of the women that were bringing their children to this thing that now I can call it a program.
Right.
But at the time, it was just all of us needing help.
Right.
You know, then I realized how much help women needed. Because when we would come together, it seemed as if all of us were struggling in our relationships.
Okay.
You know, we were struggling in our relationships, we were struggling with our marriage, you know, we were going through all sorts of things. Then it began to dawn on me that all these people that my mother used to bring home from the poor neighborhoods were going through difficult situations. And in Ghana at the time, we didn't used to talk about things like a woman being depressed, postpartum depression, all of those things, mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse.
Yeah.
These were things that we were not talking about at the time, you know. And then also, because of poverty, you'll see a young girl with a boyfriend, 2 boyfriends, this and that, and we will judge that girl. All of a sudden, all these things began to play in my mind.
Right.
And I decided I could do something about it.
Right.
So that is how in Ghana the programs started.
Interesting.
That is how it started. Luckily, I have sisters there who understood what I was trying to do and were willing to be part of it to make it happen.
Right.
So that is how it all started in Ghana.
Right.
And now we have almost 300 kids who come in, reading club, IT, play days, this and that. It's growing. You know, it's something that is growing and it's something that I'm very proud of and happy about, in the sense that now I can see my purpose.
Right.
You know, where at the beginning, I cried for many years. I cried for many years. And for many years, I was very angry at the people that brought me here because I felt like there was no need for them to bring me here. I had a life, I had a good life in Ghana. But now, being able to reach back, being able to make a difference, being able to bring joy, not only to children, but to women and to families.
Yes.
And the opportunities are endless.
Right.
You know, hope, I'm creating hope, which makes me happy every day. So our work is actually between here and Ghana.
Yes. Yes.
You know, here I'm in schools talking to students and all of that. Then we have the awards, which you've been part of.
Yes, please tell us about the awards.
Well, then again, back to looking back and realizing how much women struggled back home, how much they were not listened to, how much women will have so many children, and at the end of the day, they are left behind. The children go on to live better lives.
Yeah.
Then I thought it takes a lot of courage to be able to raise children on your own. It takes a lot of courage to be able to stand tall and all that. So my heart's desire was to honor women from several different communities because I realized from what we were doing in Malton that our stories are the same. You know, no matter where we're from, our stories are the same. We all need a little attention. We all need help. We all need a helping hand.
For sure.
And so that was the birth of Women's Courage Awards, celebrating the courage in the woman for rising above her difficulties.
Amazing.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
And can you tell us of some examples of, you know, some of the women that, or the women and girls that you've sort of supported over time?
Right. My most precious one is giving scholarships to blind girls in a blind school in Ghana. It's amazing how I found out about it. I had never thought about blind kids.
Right.
Never. In all my work, you know, we just think about kids, and somebody said there's a blind school in one, and the situation there is very, very bad.
Right.
So I thought, let's look at that.
Right.
You know, so we raised a little money and we sent it to Ghana. And when I got the report back, and one of the girls said when she got the money that now her parents can rest a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, now I don't have to wait for my parents to go and buy this and to go and buy that. Now I can do it on my own. So imagine being blind and poor,
right,
coming from a poor home.
right.
So a lot of the girls are going without things as simple as sanitary pads.
Oh, I hear about this. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
see
you're
what I
right.
mean? So it makes me very happy
Right.
that we've been able to do that.
Yeah.
So it is my hope that as I continue to do that, I will have resources
Yes.
to be able to do more
Yes.
in that particular area, because it's a bad situation. It's a very, very bad situation there. That's one aspect of it. And in our reading clubs, for example, we have kids who are now very excited about reading.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
because we've managed to work with schools here that give us books for our library.
Right.
And they come twice a week.
Okay.
The beauty of it is, on the days when we don't open, the kids are still knocking on the door. You know,
great.
oh, it's okay, we won't disturb you, we won't do this, we won't do that. What that tells me is we've opened up a world of possibilities
Yes.
for these kids. So they're coming to the library,
Right.
right? And then we have a story of one girl, when my sister was trying to close down for the holidays, this one girl said, so what am I going to do when I'm going to bed?
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
that is.
You know, so that tells us that whatever we're doing something worthwhile.
Yeah, and you're making impact.
We're making an impact. And it fills me
Lasting
with joy.
impact. Yes.
It makes me very excited,
Yes.
you know, about life, in the sense that not everybody finds their purpose in life
I agree. Yeah.
through no fault of theirs. Life is hard,
That's right.
you know. But for me, it's as if life has found a way to remind me of all my difficulties. But then within that difficulties, it also shows me what's possible,
Yes.
you know. So what I always say to people is, have you ever thought about the fact that maybe your difficulty, that is where your gift is?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest, because I know it's similarly in my life. It's just like, you know, I've been through all these difficulties, but I realized through those difficulties that I had a purpose in life.
Right.
And my life, you know, purpose is to raise, you know, the awareness and to empower women so that they
Right.
can start to voice their, you know, to voice injustice and then actually look at challenging that.
Right.
But I wouldn't have gotten to that point to realize that I had a vision, right? And that perhaps this show is just one sort of, you know, like opportunity along that path. Had I not been through those experiences that I
Right.
had over time. So,
Right.
and you know what, you're right, Anna. It's like we're so blessed to be able to get to that point where we can actually articulate and, you know, visualize and articulate that vision, right?
And to actually move.
Yes, that's
That's
right.
the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
To actually move.
Yeah.
You know, I feel very, very blessed in the sense that here you and I sitting down having a conversation.
Sure.
And we met through social media.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is not the first time we've met.
No, it's not.
We've
Yeah.
done the awards, now we're sitting here.
Sure.
Who knows what tomorrow is bringing?
Exactly.
Right. So here are two women from different places who haven't exactly had life easy,
No.
but we're two examples
Right.
of what others can look at
Yes,
and say they need to rise.
for sure.
You know, and as women need to rise, not to rise to fight and be angry and, you know, be throwing out negative energy, but throwing out positive energy for both men and women,
For sure.
so that we can understand each other and live life purposefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but wishing you all the very best, and who knows what will come next.
Who knows? Who knows? I think what's coming next is amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And thank you too.
Thanks everyone for watching, and see you next week. Take care.